Hi there, I am Mesut Dinser, my friend.
Jose David.
Frank Genovese.
We are here today to talk about life. It's interesting. Everybody may have a different definition of life. Life in general accepted as what we see on planet Earth, living organisms, but probably some of my friends have totally different way of looking at it. And also I myself as well have, if you ask me, I feel everything's alive on this universe. We just don't see it the way we should be. So I would be interested in opening the discussion about life, starting with my friends, what they have to say.
Oh, this is a tough one, what life is. So life is it's a state, it's a state of mind and body that you're able to smile, talk, enjoy your surroundings and your family, and enjoy your work, and it's something that you treasure all these years, and hoping that you take good care of your health, so that because life is very precious, that you will have a very productive years while you're still on earth.
What do you say, Frank?
Well, I got my degree in biology. So as a biologist, or BS in biology, I find it very interesting that I'm at odds and I'm at a loss of trying to even describe what life is. I can tell you that, in my opinion, there's no specific definition of life. I don't think any specific organization or dictionary will give you a definitive definition of life, and therein lies part of the problem. I can tell you that when I was in high school, we had to memorize what certain living things would do and are capable of doing. Reproduction, of course, was one. Movement was plus minus, even though there were sessile and non-sessile organisms. The ability to reproduce, of course, was first and foremost. The ability to interact with the environment. I think these are all very, very important, but since I was a undergraduate, I think the definition of life has gotten pushed back further and further. Interesting for me, bacteria were probably the smallest life forms, and you can go into your definition of what a bacterium is. And then, of course, viruses came on the scene back a while back, but the tobacco mosaic virus, in particular, when I was studying life, was a life form that could be crystallized and still live. Then, as I advanced my career, prions came onto the scene, and the question is now we're dealing with naked protein molecules that have no DNA, and the question is, everyone would agree, or many people, I should say, many people would agree that to have life you had to have DNA. And that was one of the, I think, important requisites for life. Now you're talking about naked protein molecules without DNA, i.e. prion entities. So as I think Dr. David was trying to point out earlier, it's a state of being, I believe. I believe life is an entity. It's a state of being, but I still think we don't have a handle on what the definition is. Some people would say you need to add consciousness to the equation. But the question is, if you were able to poke a prion with a very tiny microneedle, would it react to the stimulus, as most life forms do when we think about life? So for me, it's an ongoing dilemma in trying to discuss certain things we don't even have definitions of.
Well, what we define on planet Earth as life is that entity that's able to produce new generation. They could produce further generations. But as I involved in philosophy, as I involved in science, I feel life is much more than that, and where the energy content in the existent matter it's ultimate. Matter and energy is interchangeable. For that purpose, I feel the entire universe is alive, and we are part of the universe. Maybe only a small fraction of the universe who's trying to understand the ourselves. Universe is through us trying to understand ourselves. Obviously, in order to do that, the organisms develop, advance to the stage able to do critical thinking and make analysis, and be able to now do this discussion today. But I think life is, yes, it's we born, we grow up, we have a family, we are living a life. It's a wonderful life. But in addition, we have to understand that the purpose of having a life is to reproduce, bring a new generation who can explore even more. And as it goes on and on and on, the idea is to try to understand ourselves better, with the human beings being at the apex predator in this food chain, and this our intelligence helped us to reach this level, and but the future is that understanding of life is, I feel, is heading towards understanding the matter energy complex and what this complex is capable
of. Just to go a little bit further about to delve into the fundamentals of life, you had mentioned that reproduction was extremely important, and certainly in the macroscopic world, I agree. I think that is one aspect of life that was given much importance. But I'm just curious. I'm going to poll our people here. Do you believe a virus is alive? Do you believe it's a living entity?
Well, my definition of life as a living organism versus, well, I mean, for that matter, everything makes the the virus as an entity made of the atom and energy complex.
Would you consider that alive?
Yes.
Yes. I'm curious.
It's a living organism.
Okay, and just by using your definition of reproduction, a virus cannot reproduce itself unless it has a host or pathogen. Even though it has DNA, there's not one virus, to my knowledge, that is able to reproduce itself. It must, all viruses, to my knowledge, must have a host,
right,
to insert its DNA into the host cell to reproduce and make more viruses.
Sure.
So the virus itself is not capable of reproduction in and of itself, but yet I suspect it's pushing the envelope, it's pushing the boundaries of what life is, making this question.
Then the question becomes, do you need to reproduce yourself without help for anybody else? I think bottom line is you need to look at the result. If you're reproducing yourself, let it be on your own or using somebody else, you are reproducing yourself. So it must be, and you continue there on and there on. So it must have some value in life, come to think of it. If you look at the human DNA, oh my God, there is so much viral DNA in our chromosomes, and we think we are human beings, maybe we are viral beings, and we don't even know it.
Yeah, I agree, and also you take it even further. You go way beyond viruses, and you just talk about prions. And I think we all know that these are entities that have no DNA, that are found on every single mammalian cell normally, and that once they undergo a 3D configurational change, they cause the organism that they are involved with to become pathologic. So the question then becomes, are prions, are they alive? I don't know if DNA is a definition that is an absolute prereq for life. I think as far as macroscopic life, absolutely. I think as we go deeper and delve deeper into trying to get to the definition of it, I'm not convinced that that is an absolute prereq.
I don't believe it is either. I think DNA may be necessary for life we know as human beings, but I think the definition of life in terms of genetic materials, reproducing material, goes much deeper. But in a nutshell, life, who said, life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that shrouds and frets his hours upon the stage, then is heard no more. It is a tale
Thank you,
told by an
Shakespeare.
idiot, signifying nothing.